We all have a valid inner voice. We all have a message that comes from our authentic self that the world needs to hear. But sometimes trauma and/or toxic relationships can silence this voice. In today's video, I'm going to talk to you about how you can uncover your inner voice using hypnosis and why it's important for your success to do this. Enjoy. Hello and a very warm welcome to you to this presentation on understanding your inner voice so that you can communicate effectively in business. This is all about enlightening you, showing you the power of and how to do the unlocking of your subconscious mind so that you can express yourself authentically in life in general and more specifically in your business, in your networking, in your storytelling. And we are going to be looking at how this can be done using hypnosis. So, what is the subconscious mind? A little like the picture of the iceberg that you can see here, we have two parts to our mind, the conscious layer and the subconscious layer. Just as in this iceberg picture, the tip of the iceberg, the part we can see, is representative of our conscious mind. That is a tiny fraction of the total iceberg or the total mind. So, depending on what studies you read, it is believed to represent between 5% and 10% of the total mind. So the conscious part, 5 to 10%, meaning that the subconscious mind, your subconscious mind, is actually 90 or 95% of your total mind. Now, when we're talking and having everyday conversations, we are using that tip of the iceberg. We are using the conscious layer of our mind in order to have day-to-day interactions and make simple day-to-day decisions. And on the next diagram, I'm going to show you in a little more detail how that accessing of what is below the waterline, the submerged part of the iceberg and your subconscious mind can happen, and why it's important to be able to do this. So in everyday psychotherapy, in counselling, we are staying on the surface of the water. We are just having these conversations on a conscious level. But if we have a look at the next diagram, I'll show you why hypnosis is so powerful in order to help you access your authentic self and to uncover or recover your authentic voice for your interactions, your authentic interactions in business, and for your storytelling. Okay, so here's a very crude diagram that I've put together to try and explain with some clarity what happens when we harness the state of mind called hypnosis that we've just had a look at. So the orange line towards the top of this circle represents the water from the previous photo, and above that line is our conscious mind, so the part we use to make our day-to-day decisions and to have day-to-day conversations. When we are retrieving information, dipping into memories, then we will go below that orange line, but we tend to stay quite high up. And everything that is below the orange line is a collection of everything we have experienced since our birth, but actually even before we were born. Whilst we were in the womb, we have still stored memories and sensations right back to those early hours and weeks of conception. So the subconscious is where every thought, feeling, emotion, smell, taste, sound that we have ever experienced is stored. And it's all there. We may not believe that we can retrieve that information, and there are some instances in life and conditions such as dementia that happen at a later stage in life usually, that mean that it is difficult to retrieve some or all of that information, but it is still there. And within that subconscious mind, we have what I call the deep subconscious. Now, this is represented as what lies below that thick blue line at the bottom. And in our deep subconscious, we have memories, experiences, thoughts, emotions, responses, all stuff from all parts of our life, all the times of our life, that we have either stuffed down because we couldn't deal with them, or they have been stored there because they were overwhelming and we had no capacity to deal with what was going on at the time. So, for example, I talked about memories from when we were in the womb. These sorts of memories and experiences are going to be stored in your deep subconscious. So when we use the state of hypnosis, when we use this relaxed state of body and highly focused state of mind, we are able to go beneath that orange line. We are able to go and find memories and responses, all those other things that are out of our conscious awareness, but that feed in to who we are or how we are right now in our adult life. And the beauty of using hypnosis in hypnotherapy is that we can find answers to questions such as, why do I react in this way? Why did I just do that? Why am I triggered by this situation or a certain person or a type of person? And the answers all lie in our subconscious. So when we are trying to express ourselves, in order to be able to be authentic in our communication and authentic in our narrative, in our storytelling, we need to be able to access our true self, our true values that have often become masked or hidden in some way. So we're going to continue exploring this phenomenon so that you can see why it's important to be able to tap into our subconscious to access our true, authentic selves, and what the obstacles are, why that can be difficult, but also how we can overcome those obstacles. Authenticity in communication is the cornerstone of genuine connection, and if you are interested in genuine, authentic, long-term business relationships for a sustainable business, for sustainable success, then you have to be authentic. There has to be that connection, that fundamental connection between how you present yourself, how you express yourself, your beliefs, your values, and your products and services. If there isn't this alignment all the way through, then you are not going to have the sustainable, authentic relationships that you need for longevity. So it's absolutely crucial that you have your voice, your true voice. But of course, it's not always easy to be authentic, and there are many blocks to authenticity. For example, past experiences can shape our self-expression. We may have absorbed other people's limiting beliefs, and now we have somehow convinced ourselves that they are our beliefs. But actually, if they're not, then our communication is not going to be in alignment with our beliefs. And people get a sense of whether you are genuine or not. It really does make a difference in cultivating and sustaining long-term relationships. So there are also psychological barriers, and fear, trauma, conditioning can all impact on how comfortable we feel being ourselves and whether we even know who we truly are. And we quite often will create a mask that we wear in order to deal with fear and trauma, adversity, and therefore we are not being true to ourselves because we are playing a role which again people get a sense of. They know when we are not being authentic. And a large part of my work is spent working with clients who have experienced trauma, either early trauma in their childhood or trauma in toxic relationships, trauma in relationships with covert and overt narcissists. And our survival responses to all these types of trauma impact on our voice and whether we feel we are safe to use our true voice, whether we feel that it is safe for us to speak our truth, or if we have been conditioned to walk on eggshells in order to keep the peace. So all our previous experiences are going to impact in some way on our authenticity. So there can be a lot of barriers, but it is so worth our while to do the work to access our true voice in order to augment our success, in order to feel that natural flow and alignment between our actions, our products, our services, and our core beliefs. Recognizing the wisdom of your inner voice is a crucial part of this work. And we've just seen how our past and fears can mute our inner guidance, can mute, numb or dumb down what we really feel is right, what we really want to have. So I'm going to explain now how hypnosis and specifically hypnotherapy can be used as a bridge, as a way of reconnecting you with your true voice. It can be difficult for us to simply on a conscious level to work through past traumas, past hurts, and limiting beliefs that we have inherited from other people. So by using the state of hypnosis that I described right at the beginning, we have got that bridge between where we are now and to the origins of the behaviour or beliefs or our voice, the words we use, the tone we use. And we can go back and find the root causes of this misalignment, of why our voice doesn't feel like our true voice. And we do get a sense. And one thing that I encourage all my clients to do on a regular, ongoing basis is to check in with your gut feeling, because our gut response, our bodily reaction to everything, is our best guide that we will ever have throughout our life. But we're very good as clever human beings with very well developed prefrontal cortexes in our brains at overriding our gut feeling, at stuffing things down into that deep subconscious. But it's really important that we listen to our gut response and connect with ourselves in this pure way and act on that, be guided by it. So this is what hypnosis does. It allows us to go back to the origins of behaviours, of voices that don't feel authentic, and work through those wounds, those fears, whatever it is that has changed our inner voice from what it was destined to be into something that we have developed as a coping mechanism in the here and now. So we use hypnotherapy to bridge that gap and to enable us to explore the origins, to heal those old wounds. And once they are healed, we are then free to find our true path, to find our true voice. And it is really liberating, really freeing to be able to do this. So we've talked about what hypnosis feels like in our mind, that dissociation from the busyness, the suggestibility, that deep focus. But practically, in a hypnotherapy session, what happens? What does it look like? So in my personal case, I now only work over Zoom, sometimes just over the phone, just using audio, but mostly with Zoom. And prior to COVID, I did a mixture of Zoom sessions and in-person sessions. And honestly, I can say that they are both as powerful as each other. It is personal preference. There are some clients who will not work over Zoom because they want to have that personal connection. They want to be in the same room as their therapist, and that's absolutely fine, because what is really important is that you are comfortable, that you feel safe, and it's essential that you have done your homework, you've had a chat to different therapists, so that you can be sure that you have trust and rapport with the therapist you've chosen to work with. Once you have those ingredients, and the three key ingredients that I describe to my clients are that all-important rapport and trust. It is also being open to working in this way, even if at the beginning you can't quite understand how it's going to work and you're maybe a little nervous. That's totally normal. But if you have the trust of your therapist, then you will trust that they will guide you in the best possible way. So you have to be open-minded to it. And the third ingredient is that you have to really want the outcome. You want to achieve the goal that you have gone to see a therapist about in the first place. So in our context, you would need to want to find your authentic voice, because you will be aware that things are out of alignment, things are not flowing, that there is something hampering and hindering your growth, your success, your joy that you're experiencing both in your business and in life in general. So once you've got those ingredients and you find a therapist with a good reputation that you trust, then the work can begin. So you will set a goal. You will get clear between you and the therapist what your focus is, what the desired outcome is going to be. And on that note, it's important to know that there are never any guarantees. So if a therapist ever says to you, yep, 100% I can guarantee that we can do that, that's a red flag. It would be great if we could guarantee, but it's impossible, because it does depend on a lot of different factors. It also depends on how engaged the client is throughout the process, and whether or not the client puts into practice the tools that the therapist shares with you. So it's dependent on a lot of things, not just on the experience and the expertise of the therapist. So there are no guarantees, but you will clearly set your goals and decide what you're going to focus on. And then you will need to find a relaxing space. It could be your office. If you're able to close the door and put some headphones on, it can be done during the working day. Or you may choose to do this from home, and some clients will sit in their comfy chair in their living room, or on the sofa. They may sit or lie back, or they may take themselves to their bedroom and draw the curtains, possibly light a candle or just have a little lamp on. They will create an ambience that feels relaxing for them. So it's important to put your phone on Do Not Disturb, to make sure that any pets or children are being taken care of, so they're not going to interrupt the session. And then the therapist will spend some time talking to you, and then some time leading and guiding you into a relaxed state of hypnosis, so that you can better explore the root causes of the obstacles to your success, authenticity, and joy. Once you have healed those wounds, once you have discovered, recovered, or uncovered your true voice, your true self, and are able to embrace who you are, embrace what you believe in, then you are able to become a magnet for success and connection, just from being genuine, from having that flow between your beliefs, your actions, your words, your products, and your services. And you are able to express yourself on an ongoing basis in this authentic way. In the past, clients who I have helped who had a particular issue with expressing themselves included a businessman who had been bullied in childhood, and whenever he had to stand up and deliver a presentation, or even make a speech as a best man at his best friend's wedding, he would absolutely crumble. He didn't dare speak. He was terrified of what people would think of him. That when we finished our work together, when we healed those wounds, when we restored his faith in himself, his belief that his voice was just as valid as anybody else's, and he had a ton of stuff of value to say and to share, then he was just able to fly and became that magnet for success and connection. He was so excited having found his authentic voice. In my own case, after struggling with narcissistic abuse, I had become someone who walked on eggshells, who didn't dare speak their truth because I knew what reaction that was going to provoke. And so in order to keep the peace for everybody, I stopped saying what I believed, what I thought. I spent time working out what the narcissist needed to hear and followed that script. So once I healed those wounds, once I extracted myself from that toxic relationship, I was able to see that my voice is important and that I too have valuable messages to share with everybody. And so do you. Listening and watching this presentation, you have valuable information, experiences to share, and that are going to help make other people's lives better in some way. Your voice counts. Your voice, your beliefs are just as important as anybody else's. So if you're not currently embracing your authentic self, then start taking some steps to making that happen. And whether that is continuing this self-education, watching videos, listening to people, whether it's reading, whether it's reaching out to a therapist for a deep dive into the root causes of why you're currently not able to embrace your authentic self. Whatever it is, make a point of taking some action today. At the end of this video, at the end of this presentation, I would like you to do just one thing that is going to move the needle forward into helping you find your authentic voice.